Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode. We've actually reached 10 episodes, so that's good. Of Paok Talk. Jono, how are you today?
Hey Angelo, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, 10 episodes. It's a nice little accomplishment. Didn't think we'd make it this far, to be honest, but
Eh,
here we are, and
I
we
don't know.
wanna.
I don't know if that's a shot at me or what, but that's fine. Yeah, it's. I didn't. We were talking 10 minutes before this, and I failed to mention it actually snowed today. Where I am,
Oh
so
well.
yeah, it's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm not sure what the exact what it is in Celsius, but yeah, it's really cold. We're in a little in a cold front, so I'm just hanging in tonight. I know tomorrow's Halloween. Well, it's actually Halloween now. It's after midnight for us, so yeah. So I mean, we'll get right into it. We have a lot to talk about. Obviously, the big one is with Ferreira leaving, going to Brazil, and Garcia taking over. Um, I I like having Garcia take over. I think it's important. He's done really well with the youth team and with bringing and with producing younger players. I think that's something that we need. I hope that he does well as the senior manager, and time will tell. It could be like an Evich situation, and I know we'll get to that in detail later on, but I like Garcia. I liked him as a player. I liked him as a leader. I think he is Pauk through and through. Um, and I think that he's going to do whatever he can to help bring the team to back to glory. Also, he's a fan favorite, so that might play a part into appointing him manager now. But I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, and he said that he's not Greek, but I fill him in on everything with Pauk, and he knows everything. And he said it might be smarter just to keep him with the youth team to help produce these younger players, keep bringing them up. But I see both points of view. I was a fan of bringing up Garcia, and I know the last couple episodes I've given a lot of negativity towards Ferreira, and but I do want to say I think he's a good coach. I just think it didn't work out for him here. I mean, you could bring the best coaches in the world to certain situations, and it might not work out. Doesn't mean that they're bad coaches, right? But it might mean that it's just not the right fit. Okay, so I think he's a good coach. I think he actually wanted to do well with Pauk. I think he was, he's a player's coach in terms of I think he really connects with the players. He connects with their emotions. He connects with them on a personal level. There's other coaches that are more standoffish, more not dictatorship, but just more of a stern coach. I felt like he was with the players, and you could see with I don't know if you saw the highlights of him saying goodbye to the players at the airport. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did
Yeah,
see
so
that.
that was pretty cool to see. But um, it was shocking to me. There's been rumors of it, and I know we've been talking on it about it for the last couple episodes, right? We were saying, "Oh, what happens if they didn't get a result here? What happens if it didn't get a result there?" And it was more of like just us saying, "Oh yeah, they're gonna get rid of him," but when actually it happens, you step back and you think about it. Well, like, wow, all right, well, this is a big change, right? He was supposed to be this young coach, this up and coming coach. There was some website, I don't know if it was a 442 or Gold, that one of those big English websites, wherever they actually had him as one of their top, I don't know, 25 or top 30 young coaches in the world. So he had a lot of promise. And I think he's going to do well in Brazil, right? I'm not hating on the guy. I think he's a good coach. I think he had good intentions, and I think he'll be fine. But when it did go down, I'm happy that it is Garcia. What do you think?
Well, there's honestly a lot to unpack in terms of what's happened over the last couple of days. Initially, I was shocked. I'll be honest. I didn't see it coming, and like you said, we had kind of discussed, what happens if we don't get a result in this game or that game. But I didn't really believe that his job was in jeopardy. At least not in the first half of this season. So, I mean, not that he's been sacked. It's being reported as kind of a mutual split that he wanted to move on. Bulk was happy to get Garcia up from the second team. Um, Look, I've always preached and I will always preach stability, especially in Greece. I think it's so important in a country where turnover is so massive in terms of coaches, in terms of players. And we discussed this last week where having a stable squad and the core of our squad stay together for 3 or 4 years is what brought us our most successful era in the history of the club. So I'm probably, based on my philosophy and my principles towards football, I'm probably against sacking Ferreira or getting moving Ferreira on. I shouldn't say sacked because he wasn't sacked. Um, at the same time, though, I mean, I could kind of see how the season was going. I could see, I know we're going to touch on the Granada game, but again, we see a game where we don't have possession. We look good, we look dangerous, but the reality was the system Ferreira was playing was not suited to play really in the Greek league where we have 70 to 80% of the ball. So I think I think Paok, the club, kind of preempted what was going to be an up and down season, kind of reflective in how we've started the year, and kind of struck why they got some interest in Ferreira from Palmeiras, from the Brazilian club, and I think they thought, you know what, let's cut it, let's go our separate ways now, and potentially turn this season around where they were thinking they were going to have some struggles. So, I mean, from a stability point of view, I don't think it's the right move. But at the same time, I was also kind of excited because of those. I mean, Garcia is a club legend, obviously, so it's always exciting to have someone like that come on. But just thinking back to when Ivic took over and how he turned us around and basically turned us into a title contender within a season. Obviously, we brought in a lot of players,
Right.
but anything that if Garcia could do that, I mean, obviously, I'm all for it. But I mean, let me just ask you, in terms of from a stability point of view, do you think it's the right move, or do you think that's like Ferreira was at the club for 15, 16 months. We saw what he could offer. Like you said, he wasn't a bad coach. He just didn't click with Paok. Do you think the sample size was big enough?
So he coached 58 games. He won 32. He drew 16 and he lost 10. That's a winning percentage of 55%. I think if you're a Paok manager, you have to have a winning percentage of more than 55%. So here's what I'm getting at. And I saw someone post it on the forums, and it really um got me not angered, obviously, but it really stuck to me. And how now Pauk is the laughing stock of Greek soccer, right? From going to winning the league a couple of years ago to now being a laughing stocker because we switched coaches so early without giving me a chance. I mean, no, I think if you know it's not the right situation, don't wait, right? You don't have an opportunity to wait, because what happens if we wait, right? We crash out of the group stages. We finish third or fourth in the Greek league. We don't get to a cup final. Then we're gonna look back on it and say, "Oh, you know what? We saw it happening. We should have gotten rid of him earlier." I think if you know that the person is not the right person to lead your team for whatever reason, right? This isn't more of an incompetency, but it's more of a just a not a right fit, right? The formation and style that he wanted to play was not the right fit. Then you do it early on, right? And it seemed like it was amicable, where it was respectful between both sides, right? I mean, that's what it seemed like. So I think this is the right way, rather than it getting ugly and waiting for it to be to later and it getting uglier, or not doing it and then you fall even further. So ultimately, if this was the time that they decided, I mean, time will tell. But if you know that he wasn't going to be the person to lead your organization and team, then I'm happy that they did it now. I'm always an advocate for doing things when you know they're going to happen rather than waiting, especially if you have the facts. I mean, you look, he's a 55% win percentage. That's not great. I mean, that's not great at all. Last year we didn't get into Europe at all. This year we did really well in the qualifiers, but again, that was like you were saying, it was the style of play and us being able to defend and counter teams. And I think it has to do with teams maybe overlooking us, or whatever. But we got the job done. But then so far in Europe, 2 games we haven't looked spectacular. When we get to the Granada game, I think we played well, but we'll talk about that later. But the way that he wants to play, it just didn't fit off. So I think that if again, I'm going to say if this wasn't the right man to lead our program, our team, then so be it. And I'm glad that we made the switch early on.
Yeah, look, honestly, you make some good points, and everything you're saying, I agree with. In terms of my feeling was that we were just going to see the same results. We were going to see a lot of frustrating draws. We're probably going to see good performances in away games, in derby games where we didn't have possession, and it was just going to be an up and down year. So I think you make a good point. Long term, there was probably no future. There was probably going to be no short term success in terms of this season with Ferreira at the like leading the ship.
Right.
So yeah, no, look, I when you put it like that, I think you make a good point that they've kind of just like struck before the pressure really mounted, and it could have got quite ugly.
Right.
Again, nothing to say that that would have happened, but yeah, I think I don't mind it. And in terms of changing coaches, I still do believe in stability, but as you said, we have an over, what do we have, a 58 game sample,
Right.
maybe a 60 game sample from this coach, right? It wasn't like a 3 month, a 6 month, or even a one season, right?
What's that? No,
Yeah,
you
it
cut
was.
off a little bit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that at least you know this wasn't this was not even close to our shortest term in terms of sacking a manager.
Who was that guy? Oh, who was the guy a couple years ago?
Beretta.
Beretta. He was 18 days, right? Something like that.
Yes,
Two. It was
yeah,
two.
something
It was
like that.
two friendlies, and I think we lost them both or something. They just got rid of the guy. I remember that.
Yeah,
Oh man, that was bad.
I think he was having some clashes too with some senior
Right.
players. So and I think that's happened to him a couple other times at other teams he's been to.
Right.
So obviously something to do with him. But yeah, no, look, when you break it down like that, I don't think it's a bad move. I think Garcia is like the logical appointment in terms of you bring someone new in who's a foreigner. They need to learn the Greek league. They need to learn Paok. Like the season's basically you've blown your season. So I guess they're bringing someone in who knows the team, who understands the league. So he's already going to be ahead of the game in that aspect.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's it's smart. I I think it's more of it's a stopgap, right? I think the organization wants to see how he does. I mean, if he fails miserably, then they could at least go back and say, "Listen, we brought up Garcia as a coach, didn't work out. You know, we're gonna move him back down to U19. We're gonna hire someone like a more reputable coach, right? But if it does work out, you could have something in the making that's special, right?
Can I ask you? Do you think that I mean, I just said so. I think you know where I stand. It's a logical appointment. I don't see any issues with it. Do you think there's any aspect of like Garcia is loved by the fans, he's loved by the organized fan clubs, who are the ones that mount the pressure on the club when it's not going well? Do you think there's an element of this buys us time, this gives us some breathing room because they're not going to jump on Garcia's back? He's going to probably have a longer grace period than any other manager would. Do you think there's any aspect of that in this appointment?
No, I think that's their logical choice. I mean, I haven't looked at it, so I don't know. But how many free agent coaches are there that are gonna come in, kind of not in the middle of the season, right? But after you already made your first transfer window, you're in the middle of the Europa League. You have a lot of expectations in the Super League. How often will we be able to get a good coach at this time? So I think I agree with everything you're saying, and he is a fan favorite, and it is going to be less of an issue if he doesn't do well because he's beloved. But I think he's our next best option. I mean, I don't know who else we would have been able to find.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. Like we just said, anyone else coming in who isn't familiar with the Greek Super League or with Bug, it's going to take them time that we don't have, points that we can't afford to drop, um, to get them to know, to understand the
Right.
league and the team. And yeah, I think from that aspect, then absolutely he was the only logical choice. I think it's a nice added bonus. I don't think they're complaining that they're going to have someone who's going to keep the pressure off regardless of results. In saying that, I just wanted to mention that these appointments of club legends as managers is always a bit of a risk because I mean, in England, I'm a Liverpool fan. So years ago now, Kenny Dalglish was applauded for like his in 2012, right after
Right.
his he had been at Liverpool in the 90s, had been very successful as a manager. He comes back when he's past his prime and doesn't go well. Now the club's in an awkward position. He's so beloved by the fans, but the results aren't there. You need to move him on. So thankfully that didn't end well, but when results don't go the way and there's a club legend, like you can burn bridges forever. I mean, obviously I'm looking ahead, but that's just the risk you take when it's club legends. Unfortunately, if it doesn't work out, kind of seeing it at the moment at Juventus. Pirlo is having some up and down results. I mean, he's not going to be sacked anytime soon,
Right.
but you can just see that potentially ending badly, and then you'll get some fans that'll be upset with how a club legend's been treated.
Yeah.
You could get the guy himself upset, but anyways, that's something to worry about down the road. I don't know if you think that could be an issue in the future, but that's just an observation I've made over the years of football around the world.
Yeah. So there's just one more thing I want to talk about with Garcia before we start talking about the Granada game, because yes, we did have a game that we should touch on. Um, it's I think he plays a 4-4-2. Am I correct in that?
That's what I've heard reported.
Right. So when you have the 4-4-2, what can you see a lineup like? I mean, my immediate thought went into who's gonna play the other striker. Is it gonna be like a is it gonna be a Merg? Is it going to be Cholak and Swiderski, but then you have no one really coming off the bench? Is it going to be a Cholak and Solis? Is it going to be a Cholak and Merg? Because I think you have to give Cholak a little bit more time, and we'll talk about that later. And then so it's first is the forward, and then who's going to play which center back is going to leave? Because you can't have five center backs when you're only playing two. When you're playing three, yes, you can have five because you have the two reserves, the two subs. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
playing two, or my guess, and I'll tell you right now, I think it's going to be Ingason and Varela, and then you
Mm-hmm.
you keep Michailidis because he's a young and up and comer. So then it's between Crespo and Mihai, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one of those. So I mean, would you keep Crespo? He's been the captain. He was the captain last game, I believe. He's been starting in the Champions League games before and Europa League games. Or do you get rid of Mihai, who's another young player who is showing promise? Who do you see as someone that could possibly um, strengthen their position in the squad under Garcia, and someone who's kind of left out?
Yeah, look, in terms of the formation, it's an interesting point. The 4-4-2, I don't think suits us. I think I'm hoping Garcia is going to go back to a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, however you want to say it. If it is a 4-4-2 though, yeah, I think in attack there's some interesting points. I know Garcia loved Solis. I mean, obviously he got him up to the first team, so I think we'll see a lot of Solis as a second striker, potentially playing off Cholak or Svidevski if that is the way that the formation goes. In terms of the centre backs, I mean, yeah, I think it's straightforward. I think Mihai. Well, he wasn't. Ferreira never rated him, even though he's always looked solid when he's played. I think he's been a little bit unfairly dealt with and a little bit unlucky in terms of we're quite loaded at centre back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Mihai will be the one if we do revert to a back four where there will be no need for five centre backs in the squad. He'll be the one. But in saying that, he did hurt his knee in training yesterday, so apparently he's off for a scan. So if he's a long term out, which obviously we hope he's not, then it might be a moot point because then he might just spend this most of the season rehabbing, and we're going to have our four centre
But
backs. There's no way that Crespo gets forced out. I don't think
I
he's
don't
been
think
around
either.
too.
But can you get rid of Mihai? Who I mean, Crespo's 33, right? So he's 30. He's going to turn 34 this year in February.
Mm-hmm.
How
It'll
many
be
more years does he have? I mean,
it'll be it'll be a loan, I think, for Mihai. That's what I
okay,
would think.
that's fine. Yes,
With that,
okay, that'd be fine. Yep. Okay, I'm on board with that.
yeah, because just like you say, with Crespo's age, Varela, he was a great against Granada. He's been in great form, but he's also turning 33, I think, next month. So we have a couple of aging centre backs. Yeah, I'd say it'd be a loan. But let's just wait to see what these scans say, these results on his knee. Hopefully nothing serious, like we said, and he's fit to go in the not too distant future.
Right. What about the that forward position? And also another thing I want you to touch on real quick is the wide position, right? I mean, obviously if you play 4-3-3, we're more suited to play that. because we have more wingers than wide midfielders, right? But if it was a 4-4-2, I mean, where's Solis playing? Because this that formation wouldn't really suit him. Where's Merg playing? Because he's more of someone that needs to be higher up the field. I don't know if he could play it. That, if we were playing 4-4-2, that's somewhere we could keep a Jabba, who could come back and help out
Mm-hmm.
defensively, or Warda, who we could have as that wide player. Just touch
Well,
on, yeah. I mean, so go ahead.
no, yeah. Well, Wardas, I think, has signed as a free agent of Warlow, so I don't think he'll be coming back
Right.
anytime soon. But yeah, Zaba is a good point. He's one that could get a look in now that Ferreira's gone. Obviously, he had the falling out with Ferreira and wasn't part of the plans. I mean, you raise good. Everything you're saying points to us playing a 4-3-3.
Right.
I don't know. Is there a chance that Garcia sticks with this 3-4-3? Do you think that's a possibility, or
No.
do you think it'll be a 4-4-2 or a
No,
four
because
three
I think
three?
he feeds all. He knows what the fans are saying, and I think he knows it's not work. I mean, we don't know what he's thinking, right? But maybe he'll keep it for this game because there's an international break coming up soon. So
Mm-hmm.
he might take that time to kind of redo the tactics. But also regarding Warda, don't be surprised if he comes back. That's what I've heard around my sources so far, and Pas from the forums will vouch for me. My sources are usually correct. Don't be surprised if he comes back.
Wow, that's interesting. I would be very surprised if he did come back, given everything that's happened. But hey, you know what? This is Greece, and
It
anything can
could be the
happen.
the five whiskeys I've had talking, but again, don't be surprised if he comes back.
I tell you what, I have two more, and then if you can get the sentence Guarda is coming back to bulk out in two more whiskeys, I'll believe you.
Listen, two more whiskeys, I'll be saying Messi's coming to Paok next year. But where would he play the 4-4-2?
I just wanted to say too on Garcia. So I mean, he doesn't have his pro license to be a coach, so I don't think he'll be officially the coach until he gets his license. So I mean, it's been reported he's going to be the coach, but essentially on paper it's going to be probably one of the assistants, right? Like Amana Divi's the assistant coach is the one I've heard who has his pro license,
Mm-hmm.
so he'll be probably the one officially as the coach. I say officially in inverted
Right.
commas. Yep. So, anyways, like, not that it's a big deal, but yeah, when the announcement comes, it might say, Amana Divis is the caretaker coach, and so it might not officially be announced as Garcia, but we're all expecting Garcia to be the one pulling the strings, right?
Right. Agreed. Yeah. So I mean, let's jump into the Granada game. What were your thoughts on that game? Looking back on it now, I like that we're having a couple days from it, or 48 hours or whatever it is, math. Since the game, and we could kind of digest what happened. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the Granada game, I mean, unsurprisingly, I'd say we were good. I mean, we were probably better than we probably deserved the win. If either of the two teams deserved 3 points, it was probably us.
Mm-hmm.
So again, unsurprisingly, a game where we don't have possession, where possession was like a 70-30 split their way. They could not penetrate us. They could not create
Right.
any chances of note. I mean,
Well, was
I
that one? The
remember.
one they had the one header, or right, a deflection off a corner. It was a near post
Yep,
corner
yep. There
kick.
was that one.
That
There
was
was
it.
from
I
yep.
think,
So
and then there was a chance when they came down in the second half, and some player had a shot from I think 15 yards out, and he flubbed it, and then Zivkovic did that weird like fall on the ball where he kind of like moved it to his side. It was weird, but
yeah, yeah. I
do you
remember. I
remember
remember
that?
the
I
chance. I
thought it was
think
going
it
to
was.
sneak under him for a little bit.
Yeah, and I remember the chance you're talking about. But yeah, but that's what I mean. They were reduced to kind of individual efforts or set pieces. Like we held them out pretty well, and we had chances of our own. I mean, again, we just lacked that composure in the final third of the pitch. That final ball. A couple of times we had the pass out, and we just couldn't make that pass, or just couldn't beat that last defender to create the clear cut chance. But I mean, we looked dangerous, and we were good. So I was happy with the performance. And we mentioned when we were speaking about Ferreira. I mean, I think Ferreira could do that all day. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you were going into like a knockout stage of a European tournament, but they need to be one leg. So put Ferreira in charge of like the Greek national team at the World Cup or Euros in the knockout stages. I think he could probably get you quite deep
Right.
because he clearly can coach without the ball. He can set up his teams to be stubborn and can be dangerous on the counter. Obviously, and we saw that against Granada, who's only lost one game this season in Europe and La Liga. That was to Atletico Madrid. So it's a good result. I mean, like I said, we probably deserve more. Do you agree with that? And also, I want to ask you that penalty shout we had at the end with Svab. Do you think that was a pen? Do you think it was givable?
Um, So I think so. I'll go off on the game first, then I'll go kind of chronologically. I think we played well too. I think the first half we actually played again. I think we played better than them. But the second half, Granada came out, and I think for 15, 20 minutes they just dominated the game. It was in our half the whole time, and we resorted back to just that kicking style. I feel like every
Mm,
game, we have one of those where we can't work our way out. It seemed like we were really tired really early on, and I know we hadn't played the weekend before, so maybe that has a part in it. But I think the first half we played well. I think we were the better team in the first half. I say the second half was kind of split. So I would say a draw was a fair result. I think Granada, they feel like, oh, they had more possession, they could have won. Yes. I think us, oh, we countered pretty well, we could have won. Yes. But so that's why I think if a draw was a fair result. Couple things about the game. I regarding that penalty shout, I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was shoulder to shoulder. But the defender did kind of come across a length to go shoulder to shoulder. It wasn't like it was just they were together, then he just nudged him off. It did look like he put some force into it, but I don't think you could call a penalty there. I think more so than that it should have been a red card against Zivkovic when the defenders stomped on his ankle. I don't think it was on purpose. It could have been because Zivkovic was getting under a lot of people's skins that game, just because of the
mm-hmm.
fact that he was diving a lot, and I hate that. But that one definitely, if there was VAR, I think they would have looked at it and ruled it a red card. And the fact that the referee didn't even give a card at all was kind of, shocking to me. Um, even the commentator, I was watching it from the CBS feed, and the British commentator was even saying that he's lucky not to get carded there. But that was a pretty a good stomp on his ankle. Did you see it that play the same way?
I only saw the replay once of that. I thought it was a foul that was obviously missed. Whether a red or not, I think was
At
debatable.
least a
I mean, it
yellow,
was
right?
yeah, it was
Right,
definitely a yellow,
right.
but yeah, I'm not sure if it was a clear cut red
Right,
card,
right,
but
right. I
I've
think
seen
it
a
could
few.
have it could have gone to VAR and just observed and checked by the ref if that was a thing, if VAR was a
Yeah.
thing, right? But so I think that was more likely to be between the two. I would say that's more likely to be a red card than the other one was more likely to be a penalty. Um, I think it was a really rough game played by both teams. I think that return leg in Dumba is going to be something interesting because I think both teams really are going to want to win. And I think the fact that it was a tough game, a lot of fouls, a lot of, not diving, but just simulation, that's going to play a part in it. I think, one thing that bothers me is when you have the players that, they dive, whatever, then the other defenders hovering over him saying, stand up, stand up. I just wish some of our players could come into the defense of Zivkovic there a couple times. It was kind of interesting to me how the Granada defenders got away with a lot, and none of our players kind of stepped up to be enforcers there in that situation. But again, my player of the match though was definitely Augusto. I think he played really, really well in the center mid position after not playing for such a long time. He looked really good distributing the ball. He looked good defensively. He looked calm and cool. And what I love too is if you notice, if you go back and watch, whenever the goalie or the center backs or the outside backs had the ball, he always tracked back to get the ball. You saw that he wanted the ball and to be basically the player that started it from the back. Who do you think was the best player of that game? Um, who do you think was the worst player that, or not the worst, but who you think someone that didn't make an impact?
Yeah, so I think yeah, Augusto was very good. I was very impressed. it's obviously been so long since he's played a full game. Yeah, he looked really good. We know that he's got a good left boot, so his ability to switch the play, he can carry the ball. He's obviously a little bit quicker and more agile than someone like Svab, so kind of complements
Yep.
someone like Svab well. In terms of he can carry the ball and be dangerous when driving up the pitch. No, I really thought that he was good, and moving forward, I mean, it kind of goes back into the formation conversation, but himself, Zvab and El Kaduri, I think as a three in the middle could be really good. They can all play the ball.
But
They're all
who
good
would?
on the
But
ball.
so if we were to do the 4-3-3, right, and you had those three in the middle, who would be the defending one?
Well,
I think him
I
and
mean,
Schwab kind of play the same position. I think if you do the 4-3-3 and you need the one holding, I think City needs to be in at that point.
well, again, it'll be game dependent. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
I think a game like against Granada or against PSV, then a City has a spot, and then you choose two of the other three.
Right.
Obviously, we know that El Kaduri is a little bit injury prone, so he will only benefit from playing once a week instead of playing twice a
Right.
week.
And
Um,
real quick, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
it's okay.
I do want to touch on El Kaduri and how he came in. And he put him on the wing,
Mm.
which was very weird. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did, and I was wondering when the sub happened. I mean, I know he came on for Merg, I think it was.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking, I wonder if there's going to be a change in shape. There wasn't
There
really. El
wasn't.
Kaduri was kind of hovering in the middle. He was playing on the wing though, but he would kind of drop into the center of the pitch. But yeah, look, I mean, it wasn't. I would have put El Kaduri on because I think he looked good, right? He has quality on the ball, and he played that pass to Svidevsky, right? If you remember,
Yeah.
where Svidevsky got the shot away. It wasn't a great shot, but El Kaduri has that quality, right? We're talking about not having that quality. He was able to bring that. Yeah, like it was a bit of a strange decision, given how well El Kaduri's played in the center of midfield this year. But I mean, I guess it's not going to be an issue anymore, given Ferreira's gone now. So
Right.
but yeah, just back to the game. Yeah, Augusto was really good. I think they probably closed our wing backs like quite well. Like Yanulis got one opportunity really where he got a cross away, which was quite dangerous. There was two Park players on and one Granada defender, and unfortunately he just managed. It was a first time cross. I think it was in the second half, and he managed to split the Park players. But I think Granada was somewhat well versed in denying our fullbacks that space to like
Mm-hmm.
break into. So I mean, they were probably didn't have their best game, and we know how important they are, especially in
Right.
that formation. But the centre backs again were good, man. We were defensively solid. Like Varela was a wall.
Yeah, there was a
Um,
couple times though he had me nervous. I think there was one time in the second half where it was a 1v1 and the Granada cleared the ball in the air and he got in between the player and the ball, but then the player got the leverage position, and I think the player tried to volley, but it went way wide. But there's a couple times that he was shaky a little. He played solid, but again, I think we got caught up a little bit too high up, and all they had to do was clear it, and it was a 1v2 or a 1v1 situation, and in my head, I'm always thinking like, oh, here we go again.
someone we need to mention was big shout out to Ingerson and those driving runs, man. He was unbelievable going
Maybe,
forward, wasn't he?
I thought he was going to score that one time when he had the wide shot, but maybe we'll put him at 4 because Sherlock isn't working.
Well, it's a nice little pass there. But yeah, Ingerson was here, and he's the one that actually played the cross for that where Svart hit the post in the first half. That was
Yeah.
an Ingerson cross, so he was very good in attack. And one quick thing before we move on to Cholak, I think with Crespo there, I think defensively we were, if possible, more solid. But I think you saw we lost a little bit going forward. He's nowhere near as good a passer as Mikhailidis, and I know
Right.
you have your own not doubts, but question marks over Mikhailidis at this early stage.
Right.
So I think Crespo made us more solid defensively, but you could just see like when Crespo tried to play like a long ball,
Oh yeah.
he would overhit it. Like so,
Yeah.
I mean, we got more solid defensively with Crespo in, but we definitely lost a lot going forward.
I'll tell you
In
this:
that
it's Mikhailidis' hair that does it for me. His hairstyle. Not a fan of it. He looks like a
You don't like it?
a Roman god bust, like someone of like I don't even know any Roman gods, but yeah, one of those just a statue. No, but I think that he's definitely more of an attacking player. Michailidis, an attacking center back, I guess you could say. But yeah,
Hmm.
Crespo did look bad. A couple long balls they just overhit, and it was just, what's he doing? It was one of those.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where with a back three, you want one of the centre backs to be ball playing, to
Right.
be good at playing a pass. And I guess we had Ingerson who was driving with the ball, which is I guess something that you obviously take with a back three. I mean, but yeah, so I think yeah, but it is what it is. I think that the trade off was that we were a lot more solid defensively, and we weren't really put under much pressure, like you said, except for a couple of times where they caught us almost on a counter. I think we were pretty good
Hmm.
defensively, so it was a
Yeah.
good
So,
trade off. I think.
yeah, I think so too. So we have a couple more minutes left, real quick. So what's up with Cholak? What are you thinking? Do you think he's putting pressure on himself? And I'll lead off with say I don't think he did as bad this game in terms of he held up the ball a couple times. Being the lone striker a lot of there when we sat back, he held the ball up. He would get it. He would kind of play it back. But just going forward, I mean, eventually he has to score, right? I mean, we can only give him so much slack. We're okay. Well, he's doing his job, but maybe he's getting in good positions, but he's just not scoring. Well, that's one thing. If he's the lone striker in this formation and he's up against four defenders all the time, three defenders, he's not going to score, right? But eventually we have to say, enough's enough. Like, do something, right? So how do I mean, what was your thoughts on his game, and then going forward? I mean, I don't think we're gonna give up on him anytime soon, right? With the big transfer, but what do you think his future is?
Yeah, well, it's a good point you make. We definitely won't be giving up on him. I mean, they spent 2 to 3 million on him. I can't remember the exact number now, but they won't give up on him. But yeah, I mean, as the games go on, the pressure mounts and mounts, and there's just a disconnect. I mean, we did play on the counter, obviously, but I mean, I don't think he suits a counter. He's not overly quick. The couple of half chances he was getting in the box, like the ball just gets stuck under his feet. Like I think
Yeah,
a little bit of luck has deserted him
right,
at times, but at the same time, I mean, what's he started now? 4 or 5 games,
right,
no goal. I mean, at some point
right.
you need to probably bring in Svidevsky and start him, who we
Uh,
know wasn't in great form, but
exactly,
he's
and
shown
maybe
promise.
him coming off the bench a game or two, and maybe getting a late goal will kind of change things up.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Cholak's been a bit unlucky. Um, Maybe a change in formation, a change in coach is going to help him. But yeah, look, the more it goes on, because I know, like, I mean, we know that being a striker, confidence is everything. And if you're not scoring goals, you feel like, regardless of who the striker is, you feel like you're not doing your job.
Right.
So it can really, really weigh on a striker's mind. So he just needs that first goal, and then hopefully from there he can take off. But no, I think the pressure's mounting, and I think Svidevsky would be in line to start, be it against Panathinaikos this weekend or midweek against PSV next week. I know we'll do a show before then and preview that, but I think Svidevsky is going to be in line to take his spot in the next game or two.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so any final thoughts about any of the topics that we discussed?
No, I really enjoyed it discussing that with you, and special shout out to you, Angelo, for making it through, even though you're half drunk. I don't know if the audience can tell, but you've done well to keep it together, my friend.
Listen, man, I'll tell you this. I think I'm more than half drunk, but yeah, I'm holding on well. And we're actually going to record a little special show for you guys. Not one of those shows. Don't get that stuck in your head. But we have a special guest that we're gonna film an episode, and it's gonna be so. This episode is gonna be first. I'm gonna upload this as soon as we can, and then in the next couple days, we're gonna be uploading another episode with a special guest. I don't want to give anything away, but I think it's going to be awesome for people to hear different perspectives. And we're getting someone from the organization, so that's pretty cool. So thank you all for listening to episode 10. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, subscribe, get it out as much as you can to help us grow. And we're looking forward to seeing your comments, thoughts about the video. about the audio podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon.